Hi guys. I am going to look at some of the charts that were posted, and I might do a couple of them at least in the same recording. So I just write under the recording more or less like when yours is. So let's see. Cool. Let's do this. Okay, so let's see. Oh, here Ralph says, I don't know anything about the Gene Keys. I guess I should post the link for the profile. Okay, so here we have Katja. It's pretty small. Can I make it bigger? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so here we have a 6-2, a role model. Somebody who is here to have 3 phases of life, 1 up to 28. There's a lot of trial and error, a lot of experiences that might not really make any sense, more than that we gain wisdom from them and we learn what works and what doesn't work. And then after 30, it's a bit of a time of introspection, where we kind of go up on the roof and understand like who we want to dance with and who we don't want to dance with, kind of finding the right allies, allowing ourselves sometimes to be a hermit and not to engage in everything. And this profile is here to have relationships that are passionate and intimate, and actually really create those kinds of marriages. That is the line 2 in the radiance, to create a relationship with something alive, another person often, but it can also be an animal, it can even be nature. And for the 6th line, it's really, if we look at this chart in the shadow frequency, we can see that just by looking at the activation sequence, we see that it's about, the worst case would be somebody who's here to teach and to be a role model by like walking their talk. But in the worst case scenario, it would be somebody that is kind of stuck in agitation and unease, and it's on a cellular level. So it would like be felt in your cells. So there's something that isn't quite right. And then, of course, when you walk through the world, you wouldn't feel like a role model. And in this sense of agitation and unease and kind of fear of tomorrow, what's going to come, this feeling, there is also the feeling with the 51 that the world is harsh, and with the 57 is this kind of physical feeling that something is wrong. Then what would happen on the soul side is that we'll maybe have all these questions, but why? Like, why can't I figure this out? Or why does it feel like that? Or if only I could understand. So a lot of questions on why. That's why we say that this Gene Key has to do with psychosis, and it's in the head center in human design. And also in the shadow frequency, then there will be this wanting of the mind to understand things in a precise way and use intellect to figure out things. And that would lead in relationship to reinforce this kind of psychosis. It's like, why? In relationships and other people that are the same, and relationships that could be kind of cold because they're a lot in the head, or they could even maybe be philosophical, but there would be a lot of this intellect and mind connected. And then in the core wound, before it becomes the vocation, there would be a lot of, it's a 111, it's an interesting number because it has so much potential, but there would be a sense of aloneness and repression maybe, and there would be moments to feel quite dark, because when you are in agitation and unease and your mind is spinning, and your relationships are part of that spinning, then of course it's going to be quite dark and quite lonely. So this would be this would be the main things that happen in the shadow frequency. What we want to see in a profile like this is somebody who is grounded in a sense of in a sense of trust, you could say. Somebody who's here to initiate something new as a teacher. First start to walk that, and then being able to teach and share that. And this initiative comes from an intuition. And we can see here that the sixth line, when it comes to the evolution is really the part of the activation sequence where the main challenge is. This is where the earth was when we were born. So the sixth line here, it says, breaking out of compromise by knowing it's possible to evolve. Because the sixth line usually looks at the world and sees everything that's wrong, and that's why we feel agitated and in unease. But when we look at the world and we believe that it's possible, then we realize we don't have to compromise. The sixth line often compromises and kind of becomes maybe one of the other lines, or can't decide what line to be. But the sixth line is really here to nurture that vision that it's possible. What's happened then is that we break through. This is the pathway of breakthrough the heart. And on the side of the soul is really here to take in the great mystery. This is what the soul does, and it's here to share the great mystery with somebody else. It's the second line, is the marriage. And then it's here to like be grounded in something quite precise, finding those things that have to do with inspiration as well, and that are precise in some way, and using that skill of precision. And then in relationships, there are going to be more inspiration, and it's even going to be like romance. It's kind of those cities. I feel like the 61st city as well, kind of as the 60th city. It's about life becoming magical, life becoming like a romance, and inspiration in relationships, and a life that is worth living, like a life that is kind of the city's sanctity. So it's a life that even in the simple, it's like a romance, it's magic, and that's what you attract in relationships. And then we have this kind of special number again, 111, that is a light number, right? And that has to do with coming back home, and it has to do with becoming your real creative self, and starting to believe in your ideals again. This 6-line role model that really knows that the ideals are not an illusion, and from having been stuck in obscurity and in kind of the psychosis of the mind, is really opening up for those higher levels, for the great mystery. Again, we can see that we have the 61, we have the 11th, and 62. This is the head and the ajna in the throat, where a lot of information can come in. And ultimately, it is a person that is here to be recognized for that farsightedness. That's the essence. When we look at the person from heaven and look down, we can see this person who is here to be recognized for their farsightedness, for everything they can see, and include and encompass. And I feel like, this is the activation sequence and how it looks in like what the result is of living it in the shadow and living it in the gift, I would say. So let's do one more in the same recording. We can go back. So here we have somebody who wrote in Swedish that says, that speaks about friendship and finding people. And she says that she has had chronic fatigue syndrome. So sometimes she doesn't have like that much energy to go out and look for friends. And of course, when we don't have energy, it can be harder to say yes to a lot of social things, right? And as a projector, she's speaking about, you know, getting the invitation or waiting for the invitation, because that's what we usually say, that is the strategy in human design for the projector. When I look at this, what pops out at me is that it's still like a projector with quite a lot of definitions. There are 4 defined centers. So there are, of course, generators with less centers defined. So I would say that it's still a quite powerful chart. And I am, like you might know already, I'm a little bit careful when it comes to the projector, generator, manifesting generator, reflector, and manifester, to do these, to actually put people in with those labels, because there are many different types of projectors, especially projectors. There are many different types, but there are also different types of manifestors, and the energy is going to be different. So I would like, the first thing I would say is that waiting for the invitation has more to do, I mean, there are 2 things. Waiting for the invitation because the sacral center is open and these people don't have the same kind of regenerating energy as a generator. And the other thing is that for the projector, it's important to feel recognized, because otherwise the not the not the signature, but the not self keynote is about bitterness. So of course, waiting for the information, for the invitation, ensures that you're going to be recognized, because people that invite you, they are going to recognize you. And also, if you wait for the invitation, there are not going to be a million things that you try to do, but it's about the invitations that you get. So I would say, though, for the projector, more it's about energy management, to know what it is, what tires you. Because I feel like if you have a chronic fatigue syndrome, what you've done is to use your energy, overuse your energy. And maybe you were around generators, and by being in their aura, you thought that you had as much energy as them, but you don't. And you can see here that in the open center of the sacral, we have the 5th line that is about timing. So it's so important for this kind of projector to listen to your own timing. And there's also the gate of care, and this gate is like self-sacrificing in the repressive tendency. So it will do everything for others. And then the 42 will have a lot of expectations, and maybe it's expectations on yourself. So if you don't listen to your own timing, if you self-sacrifice and can't give yourself nurturing, and if you have a very high expectation on yourself, this will lead already to draining your sacral center. And as an open emotional, maybe you tried to make everything nice and be diplomatic, and but that is going to weaken you if you don't take care of yourself. So you could see, and then the pressure from the head and the open ajna and the pressure from the root, you could see why this is a body graph where there's potential for draining the energy. And also the open emotional center could be one of the reasons why it's hard to be around people, and maybe because there is this pressure to make sure that everybody's feeling good. So then it can be easier, especially when we don't have energy, to just step out and not have to deal with that, basically. So there is nothing in this chart that I say, oh, it would be hard for this person to find friends. I wouldn't say that. I feel like it's a powerful cross with the 45, that has to do with synergy and communion. The 20, is it 21? This is 26 here. It's the whole channel about being able to basically sell anything with artfulness. Then we have, there is those 2 gates, confusion and doubt, that can be a bit tricky to have in an open center, where there is the soul kind of could want to go to the bottom with that, and that can be quite exhausting as well. I would say that somebody that have the 7 and the 13 is here to listen. You're here to listen to your own identity, to your own direction. You're here to use your senses, those centers, the splenic centers, your instinct, your body, your senses, to know what's good for you and what isn't, and really listen to that. And also, you're here you're a transmitter. So any message that you have, you are going to be heard. So there is no reason for why that would be hard for you to get friends. You also have this beautiful channel, the storyteller. So you have so many things to tell people. Probably that's why you burned out, because you were doing a lot of things. And you're a great listener too. Maybe there could be the 23. Where do we have that? The 23 is in Jupiter. Oh yeah. So that's in your pearl sequence. I mean, this could be a gate that kind of could be a little bit blunt, that just expresses your truth. And maybe if it comes out in a way, people could be, could be a bit too much. But there's also spontaneity and a genius in the 23 that kind of just says things, and it's powerful. It's a fifth line. So this is why I could think maybe you're a little strong, actually, for people. But my advice would really be, that your own timing, your self-care, kind of the detachment from expectation, knowing what, like when you go into a room or to a situation, you're going to feel people's energy. So be aware of that, and also be aware that it's not yours, so that you don't take it in and think that you have to fix it, right? So be careful with that. Be careful also that people wants you to decide things and be certain, and these kinds of things. Like you're open-headed Ajna. You're here to have a lot of ideas. You're here to have intentions maybe, but not really to be really narrow and certain about things. You're probably a synthesizer. And then I would kind of start to tell my stories and see who is interested to hear those stories. In the North Node and like in the Destiny, you're here to find your purpose, and you're here to see in your life what's worth preserving for you, And I would concentrate on that. You're also here to find your soul fractal, the 44 of other people that are like-minded. And you're a 4-1. So for you, actually, your own inquiry of what's true for you, your self-inquiry, your own truth, your truth in the heart is very important. So for a 4-1, your fixed faith, that is really that's what you want to concentrate, focus on. Like, what is the truth? Inquire what is the truth of your heart. And once you follow that truth, I would say that you can't burn out again. It's really something that will help you with all the decision makings and with everything in your life. So that's something that you want to listen into. So yeah, let's stop here for these two.